All right. My name is Ben. Welcome to Cooking with Cardboard.
I'm Martin. We're the Cardboard Cooks. This week we're going to be talking about the deck challenge that we set ourselves up for. So last week we had talked to each other and we said, let's make a challenge where we pick one commander and we each independently go and pick out some cards for these challenges. And we pick out the best cards that we like for that commander. And then we're going to let you guys choose which of us picked the better cards.
Top pick. Yes.
So, top pick. Okay, so before we get to that, you can reach us on Twitter at cardboard_cooks at Twitter, and then you can also find me at golem_mtg, and you can find us on YouTube at Cooking with Cardboard.
Yes, that is where you'll have to select whose card is better in each of the selected subject matters. So for this week, go ahead.
Go ahead.
The commander that we've selected, am I good to introduce him?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so we have the monkey noble himself, Kibo Uktabi Prince. For those of you that don't know him, he's from Jumpstart 2022. He costs 2 colorless and a green. He's legendary. He can tap, and each player creates a colorless artifact token named Banana. With tap, sacrifice this artifact, add red or green, and you gain 2 life. And whenever an artifact an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control that's an ape or monkey. And he also has, whenever he attacks, defending players sacrifices an artifact. So a lot of text on one card for a commander. A lot of different ways to build around him. And
it's a combination.
Yes.
Is targeted removal, mass removal, win condition, engine pieces, the best monkey or ape, which can also be an art or a creature type.
Overall, yeah.
The most obscure card, and the funniest.
Some good topics. I think I've got some bangers in there, some hidden gems. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Before we get started, which avenue did you take your Kibo build?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of different ways, just because it has so much text on it. I kind of selected one to be more of the prime engine, so I kind of went with a tribal theme as well as a +1/+1 counters. There are some ways, like I won't spoil anything, that did include some cards that will deal with him being able to untap to take advantage of that ability, but a lot more along the lines of a tribal with +1/+1 counters. What about yourself?
Okay. I did what any nice, friendly monkey would do whenever they're facing an opponent. I'm going to be throwing poo at people. And by that, I mean I'm going to be trying to convert all of my opponent's permanents to artifacts and then locking them out of the game.
That's definitely poo. That is poo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's so fun and friendly. You know, that's how those apes and monkeys like to play.
Fair.
But the whole idea is you're giving them these benefits and these bananas. How can I limit that benefit? That's kind of how I start trying to tax my opponents out of the game while I try and progress my board. But anyway, so let's start with our honorable mentions. Do you have any honorable mentions that you want to mention?
Honorably? Yeah.
Honorably?
I'll throw out 2 if that's all right. I've got 2 that are. One of them is because it is one of my favorite cards in another deck of mine. It is Invigorating Hot Springs. It's a fun card. It's not bad in this deck. It's 1 colorless, 1 green, 1 red. I actually don't know it off the top of my head. Hold on.
It comes to play with like 4 counters on it.
I think it's 4, right?
Move a counter.
I don't know if it was 4 or 3. Yeah, so it enters the battlefield with 4 +1/+1 counters. Modified creatures you control have haste, and you can remove a +1/+1 counter from it and put it on a creature. But you can only do it once a turn, and it's an enchantment. But I've run it in my Grumgully Duck. It's a fun card because it is really flexible and it doesn't draw a lot of hate. And having haste on your monkeys or having even haste on Kibo is just like helpful. That was kind of a personal honorable mention. And then my other one was just Quirion Ranger. She's the one that allows you to return a force to your hand to untap target creature. So it's a little odd. I didn't include it in any category because I didn't like returning a forest because it scared me. I'm going to be honest. It sees a lot of play in CEDH too, so it's kind of a sweaty card naturally, but it's a fun one that if I built solely around the tap on tap, it might have made the list, but it did not. Do you have any honorable mentions that you wanted to include, Martin?
Actually, my honorable mentions was the Hot Springs. It didn't play into the strategy that I'm trying to put into place. So I didn't include it, but I think it's a great card. It's a great include. I think you could probably find room in any Kibo deck that you wanted to do. So definitely, an honorable mention from me. I also really like the Reckless Fireweaver and Ingenious Artillerist. They made my list, but not on my... They didn't make any of my categories.
Not the top of any category. They're great cards.
Yeah,
great cards.
They're just good cards.
Yeah.
I mean, it helps offset the life gain that they're going to get from their bananas if you don't find a way to keep them from sacking those bananas.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good. And then Primal Vigor is an enchantment that affects. It's a what's it called? It's an enchantment that does the same thing as another enchantment that's worth a lot of money. What's the name of the enchantment? Oh my god. Green and 4 colorless doubles all of your tokens and all of your plus one.
Explanation? No. Oh no.
No. Why my brain's not working today?
Doubling season.
Doubling season.
We got there.
Another one is similar to Doubling Season. I think Primal Vigor is a great enchantment. It does the same thing as Doubling Season, doubling your +1/+1 counters and the number of tokens, but it actually does that for all players. And it's a lot cheaper. It's only like $20, $25. It's still kind of pricey. But once again, if I was going the +1/+1 counter route, I would probably go with that one. Doubling the amount of bananas everybody gets really makes it start to feel more like a group hug deck until you start adding all those +1/+1 counters to all your monkeys. So that's another one that I didn't make anywhere on my list, but I think is an amazing card in this archetype.
Yeah, doubling is always really fun in any area.
Yeah. So what card did you pick for your targeted removal choice?
Yes, let's jump right into it. First subject here, targeted removal. So my selection here is a bit of an odd one. It is Appetite for the Unnatural. It is a instant. It costs 2 colorless and a green, so a little expensive. And it says destroy target artifact or enchantment, you gain 2 life. The reason that this is an include, because you might say, Ben, there's so many different cards that are targeted removal that is much cheaper, that do the same effect. But this one has a monkey chewing on a Thopter, which really, I mean, you can't beat that. The flavor next to Kibo, you're going to put that on the table. It's monkey tribal. You're loving it. It's fun. I mean, you do gain 2 life too. So if you were to take the deck in around a life gain, like introduce some cards that take advantage of that, it's kind of fun there. But that was my selection. What about yourself, Martin? What was your targeted removal selection?
Oh man, there are so many good ones. For this archetype, right? Like, so you could go with like Liquid Metal Torque or Liquid Metal Coating and turn all your opponent's stuff into artifacts, and then really lean heavy into the targeted removal with artifacts. One of the ones that I like a lot for that is the one with the flashback. It's a green and a colorless, destroy target artifact, flashback for 1 red. The name's escaping me, but something like that becomes really good if you can consistently turn all your opponent's stuff into artifacts. But my pick is Chaotic Transformation. Chaotic Transformation is a red and 5 colorless. It's a sorcery, and it says exile up to 1 target artifact, 1 creature, 1 enchantment, and up to 1 planeswalker, and up to 1 land. And then the controllers of those shuffle them back into their deck and reveal cards until they reveal a card of that type and put it into play. So I'm going to use this to kill people's artifacts and creatures and enchantments, but I'm going to be using the up to 1 artifact to target one of my bananas, and I only have a few big artifacts in my deck. The main one, of course, I'll get to shortly, but removal-wise, I end up getting, I've got 3 in there, and one of them is my favorite, Portal to Phyrexia. 9 mana all artifact. When it comes into play, each opponent sacrifices 3 creatures, and then during the my upkeep, I get to reanimate any creature from any graveyard. Each upkeep of mine. So pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Kind of janky, but lots of fun. Just kind of leaning into just a real kind of chaotic deck here.
Yeah, that seems like a really good one. I mean, you said that was 6 total CMC?
Yes.
So you could even do that if you did that on 5.
You do it on turn 4, 5, yeah.
1 ramp spell, and then you're getting a portal for X. Yeah, that's a really strong, that's a very impactful play. That seems like a good selection.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
What'd you have for mass removal?
Yes, mass removal here. I had an interesting card that I've never played before, but I thought would be a fun one here. It is Brawl. Let me just pull it up really quick so I can get the text correct.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, so Brawl is 3 colorless and 2 red pips. It is an instant, and it has until end of turn, all creatures gain tap. This creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature. So a nice way. It can be a win more card if you're already having an established board state, but I included it because my deck was kind of around some janky 8 monkeys, taking advantage of Kibo's ability to put +1/+1 counters on them, and then playing politics games where, hey, okay, play that. Sir, will you please tap yours to kill this creature? I'll tap my monkeys to get rid of his other creatures. You know, it's a fun interactive board wipe, and it also plays a little politically. Plus, if you think of, apes and gorillas, it kind of fits on name. The art, not so much, because it kind of looks more like a minotaur and like a human, but it's violent. It's a violent describing or a violent sounding board wipe, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine a bunch of apes brawling and just annihilating some poor wizards. I think it's definitely a flavor win.
Yeah. What about yourself, Martin? What was your mass removal selection for your deck?
The one I picked is Structural Assault. It's red, and 3 colorless. It's a sorcery. It's from New Capenna, so pretty recent. It says destroy all artifacts, and then deal X damage to each creature, where X is the number of artifacts that left play this turn.
Oh, wow.
So even if Structural Assault doesn't kill any, if you had sacked a bunch of treasures to cast it, or if opponents sack their treasures in response to this, it still sees those. So this is going to be really, really punishing. It can potentially not only wipe out some mana rocks, but their creatures, and really stabilize the board until you can get to and loot to some of your win cons and prison pieces.
Yeah, I feel like that is going to come down, and even without Kibo making bananas, it's gonna do a lot of damage to creatures just naturally, because people play a lot of mana rocks nowadays on Commander. In a Commander game, like, there's going to be a lot of artifacts, especially if you run into a treasure deck.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I like it. So how are you planning to win the game?
It's a great question, right? How does anybody ever win a game of Magic? Well, I am pretty excited about this one. It's kind of a weird one. I'm gonna. It's a really old one too. I don't even know what is this one from. Masters Edition. I don't know, but it's Titania's Song. That is my win con. It's an overrun effect. I'm treating it as an overrun effect. But it is an enchantment. It costs 3 colorless and a green. It has all non-creature artifacts in play lose all their usual abilities and become artifact creatures with toughness and power, both equal to their casting cost. If Titania's Song leaves play, artifacts return to normal just before the untap phase of the next turn. So you can tell it's kind of an older card just from the way the wording is written. It's kind of interesting, but essentially you're building a deck of apes and monkeys with Kibo, where hopefully you'll have bananas, or certain opponents will have bananas that they're unwilling to sacrifice for whatever reason, whether they don't want to play it or they're waiting for another turn. And this is like forcing their hand and saying, okay, well, if anybody has unused bananas, they're gone now. They're all going to turn into 0/0s, and they're going to be coming back as +1/+1 counters onto your creatures. But also, if you play this on turn 4, it just allows you to tap Kibo and not give anybody bananas, because they're just, hey, they're gone, and you're getting +1/+1. Oh, I shouldn't have snapped. My dog just barked. But yeah, if you play it early, basically you're gonna be able to kind of use it just as a game engine piece instead of a win con. But it's a really flexible card for the deck.
Yeah.
I think kind of odd one too. I'm not sure of the price tag. Is this an expensive card, Martin?
It is not.
I would guess it's probably bulk, isn't it?
You can pick up the original printing from Antiquities for $12.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's one of the oldest sets in Magic. It was actually in Revised as well, which you can pick up for $1.80.
Gotcha.
But the first printing was Antiquities.
Nice. So definitely a fun old one that maybe a lot of people won't have seen when you play it too, which is always a fun thing to do in Magic.
So the way I understand this is whenever you tap Kibo, 3 artifacts would go into play under each of your opponents. Then they would immediately be sacked or destroyed because they have 0 power and toughness. Mm-hmm. Then you would get 3 triggers from Kibo, right?
Yeah, 3 +1/+1 counters, right?
So you basically you turn Kibo into tap it and get 3+3/+3 counters to each of your apes or monkeys.
Yeah.
That seems very powerful. I mean, I could also see playing this in my deck as I'm trying to prevent them from using the bananas as much as possible.
Yeah.
So that would be really good in my deck too.
Yeah.
Even if I don't have a lot of apes in my deck or monkeys, but if I had this, it would just turn my Kibo into tap it to make it +2/+3.
Yeah.
Eventually, it gets big enough to just take somebody out, right?
Yeah, and if you got people being super sweaty at the table, running zero cost, your mana crypts and moxes or whatever, they're gone as well instantly. So
yeah.
But what's your win condition in your deck, Martin? I'm excited to hear about this one because I'm a little nervous.
So my goal is to win with Hellkite Tyrant. So it's a 6 mana dragon.
Yep.
Whenever you attack defending player, you gain control of all. Whenever it deals combat damage to a defending player, you gain control of all artifacts that player controls. And at the beginning of my upkeep, if I control 20 or more artifacts, I win the game. So my goal is to cast this guy, give him haste, and swing in, stealing basically all of the permanents of an opponent, because my goal is to turn everything into artifacts with Mycosynth Lattice. However, I also will probably be doing lots of damage with things like Descent into Avernus, which is a very strong card. I'll read. It's a red and 2 colorless for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, put 2 counters on it. Then each player gains 2 treasures, and you do 2 damage to each player for each count. Well, damage for each counter. So first turn comes back around. Everybody gets 2 treasures, 2 damage to everybody. Then 4 counters, 4 damage. So while this wasn't my pick is the Hellkite Tyrant.
Yeah.
The Descent into Avernus is definitely a piece in my deck that will also probably end a lot of games.
Yeah, even if accidentally. That Hellkite is going to be brutal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that seems like a really good way to end a game. Now, if you're turning everything with Mycosynth Lattice to artifacts, does that count lands?
Yes.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So you would get to 20 pretty easy then, because you hit once and you take their lands too if that hits.
Yeah.
Oh. So basically, you hit once with Mycosynth out and you win.
Yeah. So I have 3 artifacts in my deck. I have the Portal to Phyrexia, Mycosynth Lattice, and Null Rod are my only 3 artifacts.
Nice.
I have a bunch of artifact token creation, but I'm not actually doing the whole just lots and lots of value artifacts. I'm just trying to get those couple pieces in, lock my opponents out, and then try and steal the game.
Nice. Yeah, that seems like a pretty... Yep. The card says win the game on it. It's a win con.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nice.
Well, what kind of engines did you include in your deck?
Oof. We got a couple. There's 2 I'll call out. One of them is a little sweaty. So if you're building... I mean, it's tough because a lot of my creatures are, the apes and monkeys, so they're not really strong creatures inherently, but... one of my engines is Seedborn Muse. Most people know what Seedborn Muse is. I'll read it, though, for people unfamiliar. It is a beautiful spirit. It costs 3 colorless and 2 green pips. It has untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. So it's going to be a dangerous card to play because ultimately you are going to be ramping your opponents quite a good bit when you do this. So ideally you would do this when you already have... a way to interact with their bananas in whatever way. so that you can take advantage of it. But I mean, you're going to be making stuff huge when they're sacking all those bananas too. So that's good. And the other one that my actual pick was, because I know Seaborn's kind of sweaty, it's just good in any deck. My actual pick was Fangren Marauder. So this is a little bit of an odd selection. I recently played versus this card for the first time the other day, and I was like, that's a lot of life gain. It is a beast for 5 colors and a green. It has, whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may gain 5 life. So anytime you're, anybody sacking a banana, you're going to be gaining 5 life. Even when you're sacking your own bananas, you're gaining 7 life at that point. That's pretty easy to take advantage of that, and it's just a pretty fun card in the deck. However, not an ape or monkey, but it's a fun card. So I like that one.
Yeah, it's a great card. It's seen lots of play in Pauper.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, well, between the adaptation of Treasures being a huge thing, but it was also played in a lot of Tron decks as ways to stay alive. Big creature you can get out kind of quick, and then you have lots of things like Chromatic Stars and things that you sack to draw cards and fix mana, which will gain you life and keep you going. So,
oh, nice.
It's definitely a strong card. I like it here, especially in this format. It just, with treasures everywhere, even without the bananas, it would be probably pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. What about yourself? What was the engine that's turning your deck, Martin?
Okay, so my goal is to get Karn the Creator and Mycosynth Lattice. This is an old combo. I have lots of ways to find Mycosynth Lattice. Karn is kind of hard, but I have 2 other alternates. I have Null Rod and Collector Oof, which can, shut down the game, basically. But my goal is to get Karn the Creator, Mycosynth Lattice, and then try and steal all their stuff with Hellkite Tyrant.
Yeah.
Although, once again, I mentioned Descent into Avernus, which is also a big part of my deck. That, combined with Viridian Revel, is going to draw me all of my cards. Because it's going to be creating, absurd amounts of tokens very quickly. And people sacking those to draw cards, to add mana, will let me draw cards. And I'll draw through my deck and find my combo pieces.
Oh, yeah. Karn is a really good one in here. I think that's just a good include. Like, in any Kibo deck, it's just really good.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, what about, what was your pick for best monkey or ape?
My bestest monkey is going to be the Gorilla Shaman. Not only for the art, but he's just a really good card. I think it's a really good ape.
Yeah.
I only knew about it because I actually run it in Winota, just as a trigger and a way to get rid of those the fast mana, because it's really cheap. Pay 1 mana, get rid of a mana creep or 2 for Soul Ring. But let me read him real quick, sorry. For those not familiar, really cheap spell. It is 1 red pip, Ape Shaman, so fits that ape theme, and he is a 1/1, so easy to remove, but he has XX in 1. He can destroy target non-creature artifact with mana value X. So, essentially, you're able to get rid of people's, again, like 0-drop fast mana, as well as Soul Rings for fairly cheap, and you can also basically pay 1 and force somebody to sack one of their bananas on somebody else's turn, which is valuable. So you're not actually letting them use it to ramp for non-instant cards, right? So it can be valuable if you know somebody's playing some, like if you have an arch enemy situation, you can use it that way, or you can just use it to hate on different artifacts. But a really good boy, the bestest ape that I found. I really like it, and the art's pretty cool because there are a few different versions that I saw too. I know the most common one is kind of weird, but I like the gorilla facing left one. I think is my favorite. It's
gorilla
just
facing left.
It's kind of more zoomed in on the gorilla's face, which is kind of fun. But
hold on, I gotta see this.
Yeah. It's. I mean,
the one where he's got his mouth wide open.
Yeah, that one. they're all pretty cool,
pretty
but
good.
I think that one is my favorite.
I like the one holding the baby. That one's cute.
Yeah, that one is a little cute. Yeah, but I'm going aggressive with this deck. We're not trying to be cute here, Martin.
Oh, that's true. You're trying to lean hard into that.
Yeah. What was your best monkey ape in your deck, or best monkey ape, or included in the art?
Definitely the best one in all of Commander is Dockside Extortionist. It is an honorary goblin.
It's like a goblin ape, yeah.
It's a goblin ape, yeah. I mean, it's an honorary ape, yeah. If you look at the art, and you look at, I'll pull it up here and have it on the screen for us on our video over at YouTube's. So if you look at the Commander 19 one, yeah, it just looks like a goblin. No big deal. But if you look at the one where the thing's got a tail, he's hanging from the top on Double Masters 2022,
yeah,
the etched version or the regular version, and even the extended art has a tail, kind of looks like some kind of weird goblin monkey. But it's something that's happened a lot in Magic. If you go back, there's a lot of art, like the base copy of the Dockside Extortionist in Double Masters. This character shows up a lot in a lot of Magic cards, and it's always a goblin, even though it looks like a monkey.
The clear tail, yeah.
Yeah, this is. You look at this, you could tell that's a monkey.
Yeah, no doubt in my mind.
Talking about this goblin nonsense.
No.
If we were talking 60 card formats, then the best monkey would be Ragavan.
Hands down, yeah.
Card is absurdly good. There's a lot of really good ones. I like Kogla a lot. You get to attack and kill artifacts or enchantments.
Yeah.
Comes into play, fight something. You've got Realm Walker. If you're really trying to go tribal with it, you can be like, this is an honorary monkey. I can now play monkeys from the top of my deck, or ape, whatever your deck is more built towards.
Yeah. Kogla was almost my target removal. Kogla is nasty. That's a good card.
Yeah, Kogla is super good. I play it in Henzi, and it's one of my favorite cards.
That's fair.
Silverback Elder's another decent one that came out recently. It's, triple green pips and 2 colorless. I think it's like a 5/7. And whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you can destroy an artifact or gain some life. It's just a really good card. And I have it in my deck really just as a way to blow up artifacts and enchantments.
That's fair. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you need to take your Sharpie and just scratch out Goblin on Dockside and put ape or monkey you can pick, and people allow it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The art. You look at the art. That's a monkey. Look at the base art from Double Masters 2022. Ain't no way that's not a monkey.
Hands down. Just point to the tail. Maybe draw an arrow to the tail as well, just to convince people.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Just do some whiteout on the creature type.
Yeah. Whiteout would be a good idea too.
Okay, so what's your obscure pick?
Yes, obscure pick. So, obscure pick is going to be Angel's Trumpet for me. So it is an artifact for 3 colorless. It has attacking does not cause creatures to tap, and at the end of each player's turn, tap all untapped creatures he or she controls that did not attack this turn. Angel's Trumpet deals 1 damage to that player for each creature tapped that way. So an odd, pseudo-vigilance for creatures here, where if they did attack during the turn, they won't be tapped. So this allows us to get our trigger on Kibo to get somebody to sacrifice an artifact, while at the same time being able to tap him to give people more bananas on the same turn. Also has a little bit of fun punishment if people are running a lot of mana dorks, where they're tapping them for mana and not attacking with them. They'll get pinged for 1. Not a huge reason to play the card, but being able to take advantage of both the abilities on Kibo is pretty cool, and it's a really obscure card. I haven't seen it a lot in play, but I do have a friend that runs it in one of their mono black decks, and it does work. It is surprising what pseudo vigilance will do.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good card. I like that pick a lot. I think that's better than mine.
What is yours?
Monkey Cage. So it doesn't make my deck, but I think this card is super cool and really fun. Monkey Cage is an old artifact from Mercadian Masks. It's 5 colorless for an artifact. It says whenever a creature comes into play, sacrifice Monkey Cage and put into play a number of 2/2 green 8 creature tokens equal to that creature's converted mana cost. Huh. So if you want to probably play this and then be able to control what triggers it, by putting something else into play after, because I think if you can get 3 or 4 apes off this, it's the most apes you can make in Magic in one go. So seems pretty good, but I just love the art. It's super cool.
Yeah, the art is definitely it's got Planet of the Apes vibes, which I definitely like for the deck. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I had originally started working on a build where I was going to be using stuff like Goblin Welder and Scrap Mastery and Duretti to kind of reuse artifacts that have triggers and things.
Yeah.
And so Monkey Cage is still a holdover from that line of thinking where I was using this as something I could, it would die, it would give me a bunch of tokens, and then I'd be able to bring it back into play when somebody casts a creature I like at instant speed with Goblin Welder, so then I get a bunch more apes. But yeah, I think this guy's really good. It's fun.
Yeah, I think Duretti is really good for the list. And also on that Monkey's Cage, it would also, if you're not triggering it, like you said, if you're not triggering it yourself, it does put the other players in an interesting position when they play their creatures, because they have to take that into consideration. Right. Like, hey, if they don't have a low CMC guy, like, do they really want to make you 6 monkeys? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a fun one. What do you got for funniest?
Oh, funniest include. This was probably the category I struggled with the most, because I was like, I don't know what's funny, and like people find different things funny, so I was like, I don't know what to include, but I included a pretty terrible enchantment that I think's funny. It is Evolutionary Escalation. It is a enchantment for 1 colorless and 1 green, and it has, at the beginning of your upkeep, put 3 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, and 3 +1/+1 counters on target creature an opponent controls. So a very political card, and a card that just makes a big beater for a monkey or what have you. Maybe it makes a big Kibo if you don't have any other monkeys, but the art on it is literally like an ape with claws like Wolverine. So it is a very, like, it's gonna get into the head of your opponents if you play this card, because it is not good, but it is intimidating.
I just love it. It looks like he's screaming, "Come at me, bro!"
Yeah. It's definitely an aggressive looking card, which is fun.
Yeah.
But what would you have for your most your funniest inclusion for your deck, Martin?
Well, before I get to mine, I want to make another comment about yours.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
You said it was bad, but
yeah.
If you're really trying to build a political deck that involves creatures, then this seems pretty insane. Being able to buff somebody else's creatures, and you target the creature. You get to pick.
Yeah.
So you can pick their worst creature, or a creature you know is likely to be blown up by somebody else. So you're getting the benefit, and they're really not.
Yeah.
So
that's true. I mean, you can play it like an agitator ant too, where it's like, hey, if I play it politically, if I give you these creatures, that creature can never attack me. Or like, hey, I'm going to continue, this trigger will always go onto this creature, but he can never attack me. Something like that. You can play it in different ways, for sure.
Make agreements. Otherwise, I'll target somebody else's.
Yeah.
No, this card seems really good. I kind of want to pick this card up now.
It's kind of fun to play with. What deck would you put it in, you think?
I think I would want to put it in something like I'm working on DJ.
Oh, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So I think DJ would be good. You put 3 counters on a creature I control, which I have all +1/+1 counters.
Oh, yeah.
I put counters on somebody else's, but I use that as kind of like, don't attack me, and let's kind of deal with the bigger problem at the table.
Yeah. That seems like it would fit pretty well in there. I like you said, I think it's fun whenever a card forces you to talk to the table about decisions. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. I definitely think I've come a long way on these kinds of effects. There was a time when I first started hearing people like MTG Goldfish crew talking about the white
Secret Rendezvous. Yeah.
So Rendezvous is white, and a colorless. Draw 3 cards. You and target opponent each draw 3 cards. And the competitive player in me says this is terrible, and of course in 60-card formats this is terrible. You get 3 cards, your opponent functionally gets 4 because you had to spend a card to get those cards, and they did not. You're also down 3 mana in the exchange because they didn't have to spend any mana.
Yeah.
So anyway, the idea is in a Commander game, it's such a good tool for politics that you're able to get more of a benefit because you're also benefiting a little bit from your opponents gaining that advantage. Because now they are facing against the other opponents, which will make it more likely that they'll ignore you.
100%, yeah. And they're just fun cards to play. They're fun cards to see resolve, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So, there's a little bit of a story to mine.
Okay. It's time for story time. Buckle up.
Yeah, Uktabi Orangutan is one of the original ETB cards. Green and 2 colorless for a 2/2 ape, and when it comes into play, destroy target artifact. This ended up becoming Reclamation Sage, right? This was like I think the OG first one. After this one, I think it was. After this was Viridian Corruptor, and then Reclamation Sage, if I remember right. I could have that backwards. Okay. But anyway, so this is now an evergreen mechanic, and the thing that makes it so funny is it saw a lot of play. It was in a Pro Tour deck, I think a Pro Tour winning deck, if I remember right, that involved sack chains and stuff. But if you look in the back of the art, there's the Uktabi Orangutan in the front, and then 2 monkeys caught mid-coitus in the art.
Little PDA action.
Some very heavy petting. And so that became pretty well known, right? They've already started calling that card the sex monkeys.
If you look at any list of the most inappropriate cards, that is number 1.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So Unhinged, a couple of unsets ago, came out with a card called Uktabi Kong. So this is my pick for funniest card, but it's in part because of the history. So green, and 5 colorless for an 8/8 trample. So just a chonky ape. It has trample, which makes it good. So if you can rule 0 this into your commander game, this is probably a pretty good one to include. When it comes into play, you destroy all artifacts, which is super good in this archetype. And then you can tap 2 untapped apes you control to put a 1/1 green ape creature token into play. And it says, I desire the acquisition of potassium-rich fruit commensable of substantial magnitude. And
that is some sweet flavor text.
Right? But in the back, you have pregnant monkeys, which I think are the same monkeys from the other art. And I think it's the same Uktabi orangutan, too.
It's telling a story. It's just the completion of that story, and it's trying to teach you a lesson of what happens when you have unprotected sex.
Yeah, I mean, this is what kids need to know about how to make ape babies.
You thought you were just playing Magic? No, you're having sex ed right now.
Oh well, so
no, that's a good include.
If
I feel like people would probably be willing to let you rule 0 that into because it costs what 7 mana, 8 mana,
8. Yeah,
that's. I think that's gonna go over really well if you bring that up in rule 0.
Well, also if you look at it, the tap ability probably leads to a lot of infinite situations pretty easy.
Oh,
so that's the problem, right? If it wasn't for the tap you, this card would be fine, I think. But the tap is a little combo dangerous. So if you have this card in your deck and you're wanting to know if people will be okay with it, I would say I have no combos. Like specifically, don't put the combos in the deck so that you don't go infinite, because that would be, I think, the only real thing that would keep people from wanting you to play this card.
No, that's fair. Yeah, I have one Unfinity card that I keep in my Tree Folk box for when I do play my Tree Folk deck, and I've never had a game where I say, hey, I have this Unfinity card. It's a bad card. I think it's like a 4 mana 3/3 or a 3 mana 3/3. Doesn't really do anything special, but I've never had anybody say no. I mean, it's pretty unanimous. I've had pretty good experiences asking to include it. I don't know. Have you ever seen an interaction where somebody has asked to play a technically illegal card in Commander and it go poorly with the table, Martin?
No. I mean, I think people are pretty cautious about what they ask to do.
Yeah.
So they pick ones that are more likely to be agreeable. And I'm always willing to agree as long as the card's not going to make me do silly things like, use drinks as tokens or something, and or dance.
Go buy somebody a booster pack. Yeah, as long as it's not weird actual actions. Yeah.
Right, like ripping it up and spreading it amongst the cards or something. There's all kinds of stuff that comes from the unsets that is, really outside the scope of what the game mechanics would do. But except for power level, I think this Uktabi Kong is definitely the kind of card that could see print, albeit they would probably find some way to say you can only maybe do this once a turn with the tapping of the apes.
Oh, yeah, that would definitely make it much more safe of a card.
Yeah. I mean, 8 mana destroy all artifacts. I mean, what you have the 6 mana
Vandal Blast is basically
Bane of Progress, right?
Oh,
6
yeah.
mana,
Yeah, that's even
ETB
better.
blows up all the artifacts and enchantments, and then it gets +1/+1s equal. I mean, it doesn't have trample, I don't believe, but it's
No, I
gonna
don't think
probably
it does.
be 8 or bigger, right?
Yeah.
And that's 2 mana cheaper. So I don't think this card is unfair, but for the tap ability.
The potential to combo with it, yeah. I would agree.
So, okay. I think that's about it.
Yeah, do you have any other ones that you wanted to discuss from your honorable mentions?
I
think we went over most of them.
I think so. No, my only honorable mention was the hot springs that you had mentioned.
Oh yeah, okay.
That was like on my. I just think that card is very, very good for the Kibo +1/+1 counter list. Being able to play and give haste to your giant apes is really good. Especially if you have ways like Gorilla Shaman to kill the opponent artifacts so that they can get the +1/+1 counters and start attacking in. A lot of out of nowhere, which is, I think, very good.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, what do we have for Finance Corner this week, Martin? Do we want to jump right into that?
Before we get into that, I just want to remind everybody, let us know which of ours did you like the best. Let us know if we missed any. Is there a card that you would go really well in a Kibo Uktabi Prince deck? Let us know if you'd like to see more of this kind of content where we really try and challenge each other to try and come up with more unique and fun ways to make commander decks. And let us know in the comments on our YouTube page, which is Cooking with Cardboard. You can also reach out to us on Twitter. Once again, the Ben's is cardboard_cooks, and mine is golem_mtg. So let us know how you like this. If there's something else you'd like us to do like this, if you have a challenge for us to do, maybe there's a certain archetype you'd like to see our takes on, or maybe a really difficult to build commander. We picked one kind of easy for the first one. There's a lot of ways we could build Kibo, but there are some commanders out there that are very hard to build around. And we're open for the challenge. You just got to challenge us.
Heck yes. We'll definitely be doing some more building, as we do love to cook.
All right. So this week on Finance Corner, I kind of want to talk a little bit about, well, it's always product fatigue, right? But there's been some stuff going on in the market. We have a set now that's just hit the streets. It's Dominaria Remastered. So it's like Tuesday. There's a new set. It's Tuesday. That's okay. But it's got a lot of really high value card reprints in it, which is awesome. And the set is actually not as expensive as a lot of other master style sets. So the price per pack is like $6 versus $4 for a normal pack. I mean, it was like 13 for Double Masters 2022 for packs, or 15.
Wow. So a lot cheaper than that, yeah.
Yeah, it's half the price, right?
Wow.
And there's some really good cards in here. Like Force of Will has been reprinted in this set, and Mythic. You've got Vampiric Tutor. You got the whole tutor cycle, the Worldly Tutor, Mystical Tutor, Enlightened Tutor, and Gamble are all reprinted. All of them are rare except for Vampiric Tutor, of course. They want to keep that reprint equity as best they can. But I'm kind of curious if these prices are going to stay high. What I mean by that is, if you look at the price charts for the Double Masters 2022, everything went, of course, stayed high because these were all reprints that were high value cards, and then they kind of dipped a little bit, and then they went back up. Opening weekend, they actually started to climb back up after that initial dip, but that was largely there just wasn't enough product at that point.
I remember they were struggling with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the boxes were going for like $400 for a draft box, $380 for a draft box. It was up to 300 something for the collector's boxes. But these days, you can actually still get those boxes closer to the MSRP, which is significantly higher than the MSRP of the Dominaria Remastered. So the way cards have their value is going to be how much can you acquire the box for, what's your EV for opening that box, what cards are you going to get. If your EV is higher in the box than the cost of the box, then the cards inside will normalize and come down unless the box availability is restricted, which has historically been what they did with these sets. So you kind of buy in the first couple months when you can, and then they're gone, and it wasn't a long print run, so they run out fairly quick, and they don't come back again. But I think Double Masters 2022 and Modern Horizons 2 has shown us that they are doing much bigger print runs. Now, Modern Horizons 2 was they did not say it was a limited print run set, but those kinds of sets historically have been. They did say this is a limited print run set, Dominaria Remastered, but everybody I've talked to and what I've been seeing chatter online is that no one's having trouble fulfilling their orders for boxes of draft. Collector booths.
So it seems to be plenty of product.
Plenty of product. So my concern is that in 3 months from now, we're going to see the same thing that happened with all the Double Masters cards, which is just a steady decline. The really desirable cards, it's a slow decline. Some of them stabilize, like Dockside stayed relatively safe. Cavern of stayed relatively safe. Things like that. The Mythics. But that's also a set that costs you $15 for a pack.
Way more expensive,
Yeah, so what's going to happen to these chase cards, these high-value cards, in 6 months if there is no problem getting these at retail? Because I feel like the prices have to go down. I mean, yeah, some of the old art, the old style is good. The retro cards or the full arts are kind of cool. There's some of these different things, but those come in draft packs in addition to the collector's packs, which is different than a lot of these. I think the only thing that comes in the collector's boxes that does not come in the draft boxes is foil retro basic lands.
Odd. Okay.
Very odd.
Huh. I'm just glad they reprinted that Tudor cycle because I know that cycle was getting really expensive.
It was. Yeah, and I think it's good. More reprints. I like prices going down. I don't mind. I'm not one of those people that, I haven't bought boxes to sit on in years because their print runs have just been absurd, and they keep printing for a longer period of time than I think they used to. It used to be, while it was in standards, you could get it. As soon as it rotated out of standard, supply started drying up. That's just not the case anymore. It seems like they are still printing some of these, or they just printed so much that there's just warehouses full of it.
They have their inventory is like insanely high of some of the boxes.
Yeah. Well, so some big picture here. What I'm trying to say is that I think if you're trying to get absolute cheapest on some of these cards, I would keep waiting. A couple of them have started to ease back up a little bit, but that could also be the same thing that happened there in the first couple weeks of Double Masters, where there was a dip for the openings, and then it kind of eased back up before it started coming back down again. And there was a steady slow decline over months. And that's what I'm anticipating to happen here. So I'm looking to buy probably towards mid to end summer, depending on price trends between now and there and box prices, if the availability is as high as I think it's going to be.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, that sounds like some solid advice. Any specific cards that you're looking to pick up from the remaster?
There are a lot of really good cards in this set, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Some of which are the cards that we had talked about, I think, a couple weeks back, where we had, like, before Christmas, we had talked about how some of the cards were expensive due to scarcity, like No Mercy and Test of Endurance.
Yeah.
Those cards have already bottomed out quite a bit. Test of Endurance is just a few dollars now. It was like $50 before. Mercy is still at $12, but it was at $50 before. So I think that one has still some more room to drop. And Test of Endurance might drop all the way down to bulk, to be honest. They kept it at Mythic, so there's a little harder to find than a random rare, but I don't think these are cards that I'd be targeting for at least 6 months before I would try and pick them up
picking them up right now. I do think that is good, though, when they're reprinting cards that are just expensive because of scarcity, because there are people that get, in that position where they can't even play the effect because it's not worth the $50 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's fun to have those obscure effects you want to play with, so that's awesome.
Yeah, no, I think so. And I that's one of the good things I think about all this collector booster pack nonsense. I like the fancy cool cards, but I can take it or leave it. At the end of the day, I really just want to be able to play the game. So the more collector boosters out there that people open trying to chase these rare alternate things, the cheaper the base copies become, which makes it more affordable for the random people to just play this game and fall in love with it.
Yeah, which is what makes everybody happier.
All right, well, I think that's about it for this week. I hope you have... Oh, I had one other question. How is your new year going?
Oh, yeah. New year, new me, right? No, it's been great. I've been able to... I went to my LGS on Friday and got some sweet games in. I got to see the new Mishra and the Dragon Engine meld for the first time.
Oh.
That was pretty exciting.
You did it, or did somebody else?
And I actually pulled... Somebody else did, but I actually pulled... So they do... this thing at that LGS where you have to pay like $6 for entry, but you get a set booster from the newest set. And the guy I was playing to my left had the Mishra, the meld one, as his commander, and I actually pulled the Mishra from my set booster, which was kind of cool because it's like a $30 card. I did not know it was that.
Well, it's
expensive,
down to like 17, I think. If it's just the base copy.
17. Oh, okay.
I just opened one too. I did a draft, a chaos draft, and I opened that in a Misty Rainforest, so I was pretty happy with that as a chaos.
Ooh, that's really good.
So, I mean, Misty, oh my god.
Yeah.
Talking about Finance Corner, Misties are like down to $17 you can get a copy for.
For that fetch land, that's crazy.
So,
I don't know, how's your it's going good though. How's your
really
New Year's
good.
going, Martin? Overall.
I made a resolution to try and play more Paper Magic.
Heck yes, that's a good resolution.
I've been really busy trying to finally get my teaching certificate so I can start student teaching in the fall. So that's been a whole set of hurdles and time commitments and things like that. But, new year, new me, more magic. I'm down.
Heck yes, man. I'm glad to hear it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody, and listening. We love to hear any comments you may have. Hit us up on Twitter, like we said, or on YouTube. You guys have a great weekend. I'm Martin.
I'm Ben. Have a great one.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.